Chapter 2. Call Me a Genius. At 5 years old. After my grandmother noticed me reading books that were way too advanced for my age. Grandmother finally convinced my father Morgan to let me take an IQ test. Morgan took time off work to come with me and my grandmother to the testing. Morgan may be a CEO, but he never missed any of my important events. I was surprised to see that there was another kid there. I immediately recognized him from my previous life. Louis Ross, he didn't appear in the novel, but was a towering figure in the business industry. After taking his parents' money at the age of 7 and investing it into the stock market, he quickly made a name for himself. Everyone paid attention to him. When asked, why doesn't he start his own business? He just said that it's too much work, and that he'd rather lay in bed all day watching his money grow. I had a lot of trouble meeting him in my previous life. He never attended any gatherings, finding it troublesome. The only way to get through to him is through his mother. I never had a chance to meet him in person in my previous life. Now is my chance. I smiled as I walked over to him. Hello, I am Margot, and this is Chubby. You want to play? I said as I held up my rabbit doll. Not interested, kid. He said as he continued playing with his iPad. Aren't you already over 30 minutes of screen time? Screen, what? Screen time. My grandma takes my phone away from me after 30 minutes. He showed me the screen and said, I'm studying. Just then the screen changed to an online chess game. No, you're not, you're playing chess. Leave me alone, kid. I pouted and said, Can I play? I'm very good. I won the junior chess championship last month. He stared at me and finally gave in. Fine. After a few minutes of playing, I won again. And Louis Ross stared at me with an unreadable expression for a 5-year-old. Margot Stone and Louis Ross were ready for you. It was just as to with the proctor sitting in front of us. We both finished at roughly the same time. After the results were in, we were both called together. The test administrator then said, In all my years in this institution, I've never seen such gifted young minds in this country. Your children both scored 400 on the Wechsler Intelligence Scale for Children test. And over 160 on the Mensa test. What's the difference? His mother said. We both answered in unison. Wechsler Intelligence Scale for Children test is a common IQ test, while Mensa is international. Yes, that's right. The administrator said. My father then asked, what does this mean for my daughter in terms of schooling? It means that both kids would have to be in a special class. Unfortunately, we don't yet have a program for this thing. Can't you just make one? I asked. Well, in order to do that, we would need money and a lot of resources, frankly. I'll cover it. We all then stared at my dad. I would pay for the teachers, staff, the building, everything. As long as my daughter's needs are met. You can't just have a special program for one person, Mr. Stone. Who said that it would be just me in the program? I said as I turned to the boy beside me. Perfect, that settles it. My grandmother said happily. Margot and. What's your name, little boy? She asked. Louis Ross. Grandma smiled and said. This is my granddaughter Margot Stone, please take care of her. Grandma then turned to his mother. I'm planning to have a party to celebrate my granddaughter's achievement here today. It would be nice if you could come. Sure, we love to. I'm Alex Ross, would you mind if I bring my husband Ian along? Sure, I would love to meet the father of a brilliant child. Morgan. Grandma commanded. Dad then handed them a business card to call. Let's go, princess. Dad said as he carried me. I waved to Louis and his mother as we left. When they were out of sight, my mother got her phone and searched the company name the calling card on Google. Oh, my God. She yelled. She then looked down at me with a smile as if she just won the lottery. I could already guess that those people were wealthy. Just by looking at them. We have to go tell your father and grandmother. She then dragged me out and drove the car like a maniac, ignoring the stoplight. Our car stopped at a modest housing. When we entered the house, we were greeted by Grandma, who was visiting. How did the test go? It went well. I scored a 160 and 400. Which is the highest score you could have? That's my grandson. Not only that, Mom. We met very wealthy people at the testing. They said they would start a program for gifted children like Luis. They want him to join. My mom said, screaming like a high school girl. When Dad arrived home, Mom said to him, "Han, we have been invited to a high society gathering." By who? He asked. She said while showing him the card, Stone Enterprise. He then stared and stood up and took the card from her. Mom and Dad worked as employee at a small startup company. This must be a scam. No, it's not. Luis and I met the CEO and his daughter at the testing center. She said vehemently. It's a scam. And I'll prove it. He said as he dialed the number on the card. Hello, Stone's Corporation, this is Mr. Stone's secretary speaking. Hi, my name is Ian Ross. Just then the other line became noisy. As a girl's voice sounded at the other end. Give me. Brother. My party is at the Grand Plaza Hotel, next Friday at 8, wear our formal attire, don't be late. She hung up. The room then fell silent. Mom laughed and said. The scammer have good taste if they could afford the 5 stars, Grand Plaza Hotel. What happened? He finally asked. Mom smiled and said. Luis made friends with a girl at the test center. Speaking of test, what score did you get, bud? 160 and 400. Is that good? It's good enough to enter you into a program. I said. Later, when the lights were off, Dad was still staring at the computer. I walked over and said. The company you're working for is not profitable. It will probably fall in 2 years. Take a loan and invest in this company while the stock is still affordable. He was reluctant. Until the day we attended the party. Dad wore his business suit and Mom wore a simple white dress. When we were at the receptionist. Brother. It's okay there with me. She then dragged me to the stage. She grabbed the microphone and announced. Everyone, the guest of honor has arrived. This is Luis Ross. He is the other person who scored 160 on Mensa. They then applauded. Now, we will have a quiz bee to see which one of us is indeed smarter. I didn't want to humiliate her. So I let her win by 1 point. Her uncles and other acquaintances of there. Approach my parents and ask what their job is. With such a brilliant child. The parents must also be outstanding. What do you do? Dad then suddenly said, Oh, we do stock exchange. That's where most of our money comes from. In fact, I'm planning to invest in a startup company with great potential for profit. I look up at him and smirked. When the party was over, Morgan Stone came up to us and said, I have already found a building for the program. We're now looking for hiring staff. Thank you, Mr. Stone. We'll be in touch. When we got in the car, Luis got a girlfriend. Mother teased. Stop it. That girl is too young for me. Too young? You're the same age as her. Dad said. I then countered. You know you're gonna have to put your money where your mouth is and invest on that stock, right? Your boss couldn't even get an invitation to that party. He then nodded. The very next day, Father finally dipped his toe into the stock market. Like this story, comment, and subscribe to be notified when the next chapter comes out.